You know, I don't think I've ever been on a trolley before. We always skated. I'll give you a sticker for you, man. Give you something to zoom in on, dude. It's kind of juvenile, right?
How long after New Deal did you start Traffic?
A couple months. Yeah, not that long. Well, initially, like, it was just me. You know, Sean Williams was like one of the first dudes, some, you know, young kid out of Jersey I gave boards to. Rich Adler, Henry Panza got on, and then after Static 3 came out, or Static 2, I asked Josh about Pat Steiner. Pat came on, and then we had Bobby and Jack, and then it was us three. I don't know exactly where I met Bobby first, but I've known Bobby for, 15, 20 years, and I really respect his overall body of work. It's just that, you know, he's a little intense. People think I'm intense, but he's just a different kind of intensity.
Son of a bitch!
Our thoughts on skating are so similar, more so than anybody else's. So that's why when he got on Traffic, it was so fitting. It's very fitting.
Traffic, to me, it was like Rick, Rich, and like, you know, the dudes in Philly, and then like Bob. Like, you know, that was like kind of the core to me. Like, that's who I talked to, that's who I was friends with. I had a couple offers, and like, I was gonna ride for Element, but then I didn't because I didn't know anybody on the team, and you know, this was like BAM era, it was kind of weird. If I'm not gonna make that much money, I'd like to ride for my friends. You know, I was just kind of like, all right, let's do Traffic, trying to do it, you know?
Jack is one of us, like one of our styles. Like he's a kid that we kind of groomed. Our way of thought groomed Jack, Rich, and Damien, and all these dudes like this. I would go out with Jack and Rich as much as when I used to go out with Serge and Matt. You know what I mean? It was a group. We were all part of the same group. Pace, right?
Yes.
Pace, how you doing?
I'm skateboarding.
Pace, yeah, you see, remember?
Yeah.
Years ago, we wanted to skate it, and you guys were always, always, always open. I said, look, man, you let me do what I do. I'll come here, do some business, play some pool, drink some beers, you know what I mean? Do my part.
Do what you want out there. Just if you break your ass, you got to walk. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably come in and buy a beer first. My buddy did something amazing on this thing, and you know, I mean, I'm only getting older, shit. I don't know if I'm gonna have the legs for this ever again, but if I do, man, you know, this is something that I gotta at least try, because I pushed out so many times. Skating is nothing like what it was when I started. You know, I want to get good because I want to be on, you know, Street League. I want to be on TV. Traffic is nothing like that. Like, nothing like that at all. I still try to get dudes who think the way we think a little bit as far as freedom goes. And no, if you don't want to skate contests, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not going to make you go anywhere. You know what I mean? You know, and if I had some money, I'd make you give me clips to do the website to make sure we're, you know, relevant. The biggest problem that I've had since I've started this is that I'm always on the phone with my kids, and I'm yelling at my kids because they're asking me questions or doing what kids do when I'm on the phone. It just couldn't work. So I just stopped, and I relied on people emailing me. I'd talk to Eastern and distributors, and overseas, Japan really has been my biggest market forever. They really kind of helped out a lot. I finally got to go to Japan after all those years. I'd much rather have been able to go when I was kind of skating, you know, more of my peak rather than on the way out, you know what I mean? But I did get to go over there, and it was fun, and met tons of dudes, and it was great.
Who sings that song, Big in Japan? You know that one?
Yeah.
We're big in Japan. All right, whatever. But that trip was awesome. That was kind of like, to me, I knew it too. It was kind of like Rick's like last hurrah, kind of, you know, because he'd never been to Japan, you know, and like he's huge over there. It was so fun, like old man style. We're like just drinking beer, skating street all day, just cruising around. It was one of the best times of my life, man.
It would have been better if Bobby wouldn't have got deported. He flew out there and got deported that day because his passport expired in April, and it was May. He didn't even like the idea anyways. He didn't give two shits that he flew all the way back home. Knowing him, you know his philosophy is he doesn't like seeing shit out of Philadelphia or New York. He likes that way of skating. Whenever I get footers, like my New Deal part, half of it was in Barcelona, he hated it. He didn't want me to skate anything but Philly, New York, because he wants us to identify with our style. I mean, shit, I rode for companies that he would die. Like, I rode for Lost. And I was psyched on Lost. Chad was awesome, the team was rad, Pat Duffy got on. It's just that the image of the company is surf fucking shit. It's not surfy like Billabong and Quicksilver. It's like surfy shit. And surfers are pretty fucking retarded. But, you know, they gave me a paycheck, and I rode for it, and I needed it. But, I mean, I put effort into it, don't get me wrong, but Bob would never, ever do that. But I understand where he's coming from, but I'm just not that far into it the way he is.
And neither of them would be insulted by me saying that Bobby Puleo and Ricky are probably two of the most opinionated and stubborn people I've met. They have a very rigid view of how they see the ethics of skateboarding. And the path, I guess, that you'd say that Ricky with Traffic and the people who kind of like fit that mold and follow that path, I guess you'd say, they're choosing this hard life, you know? It's like, I'm choosing to build a company around something that is underappreciated, takes 3 times more energy. Go try to film a trick, a legitimate trick at an original spot. It's so hard to come up to get something done. It's a shame because the things we care about, you know, and the things we put our energies and our time into are understood by such a tiny bit of people. And those tiny bits of people who actually understand it and appreciate it are usually older, and they don't pay for stuff anymore. They've come up with a way to bro deal, or they get a board at cost from the shop, and so there's such a tiny buying market for the stuff that actually matters. Like, in my opinion, Traffic or Hops or these small brands run by people who actually built the scene that everybody loves. So there's no money to support it.
Now Syndrome is now blowing it out the way it should be, but I still need marketing dollars because they're blowing it out to people who really don't know. And we need to educate people on what Traffic represents and what makes Traffic different and unique and good, which it is, but how would people really know it? You know what I mean? You know, I try to get the dudes on Traffic to do what they need to do, but, you know, I don't have money for them, so it's hard to demand shit from people. So it's like, Traffic's still going, it's still moving forward, but the pace at it, you know, you're going to lose people here and there, and evidence with Plunkett and Sabak, who are both amazing. There's barely any money coming in that these, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's why Jack's not riding for Traffic, is because he wasn't getting money consistently at all. You know what I mean? And Stereo didn't offer him that much money, but at least it's consistent. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, it sucked. I didn't want him ever to leave, just because I wanted to build something as a family. But it's not going the way it's supposed to be going, or what we all want it to be. That he had to go. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to win the lottery and just get him back and be like, look, dude, now we can do it the right way. You know what I mean?
Jack, I think, like, stuck with it as long as he could. He chose something that he knew he was going to make a lot less money off of and lead a harder life. Doing it for the cause is as rad as it can be until you can't survive off it anymore.
One time Rick sent me an email like, shit, maybe I should have listened to you that one night. You know, I'm broke now. And I was like, whatever, I'm broke too. Like, respect goes longer than money, so I wouldn't worry so much about that, Rick. At the same time, I think it's all just time period, because even non-East Coast pros from his era are sort of got leapfrogged financially by the skateboard industry and the way it just became over the past 10 years. I mean, even if right after Eastern Exposure 3, Rick packed up and moved to California, I mean, he might have been a little bit better off, but I don't think he would have been as well off as he would have if he was just born 10 years later, you know?
There's like a very few, you know, handful of dudes who, on the East Coast, it's part of their identity to stay true to what they thought was real skateboarding and real street skateboarding. I feel like Ricky, what he meant to the East Coast and just to like skating in general, he's gotten the least back for it.
I've succeeded in skating, I believe, but, you know, I have a family and stuff like that, and I've not succeeded at all financially. I have a regular job. I drive a fucking big ass truck. I deliver produce now. Like, I don't mind it. My dad was a truck driver his whole life. I mean, I'll probably get my CDL and probably be a truck driver too. But for me, I'm gonna be I'm 39. I have these anxieties. I'm like, damn, what can I really start that I'm actually gonna be able to do and be successful at starting at such an older age? It's like, I've always believed that I deserve something out of skating. It's not really the best way to think, but I've always and still believe that way. And I held out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm somebody, I almost wish that I didn't become somebody in skating. I probably would have had more fun at skating, and I would be a lot farther along in my regular life. You know what I mean?